Hey, Aleksandr. So another set of essays from you. Good. Let's get right to it. It's the flowchart. I really like this one. Let's see how you wrote it. This flowchart is describing the production steps for 5 different tea types: white, green, oolong, black, and scented teas. Overall, it can be seen that it takes the least number of steps to produce the white tea and the most to produce the oolong tea. Okay, there's just 2 little changes that I would make here. I wouldn't say it is describing. I would just say that it describes, okay? Present simple is more accurate. And then I wouldn't have put the in front of white or the in front of oolong. I just would have said white tea, oolong tea. Okay? And that's fine. What you wrote is fine, the content that is. Let's see. White, green, oolong, black, and scented. Yes. Okay, fine. Initially, all the fresh tea leaves get sorted and cleaned. After that, the process of withering begins for black, oolong, and green teas. Later, green tea is pan-fried, steamed, or fired. Hold on. Green tea is pan-fried, steamed, or fired. No, wait. Green tea is... Okay, got it. Oolong tea is shaked. I think shaken is the right word here. Is shaken or rolled in a basket to bruise. Now, check out what's happening here. What they've done here is the language they've used is it's almost like the language in headlines. So they cut out all those superfluous structural words like the and prepositions and so forth. So when it says shaking or rolling in basket to bruise leaf edges, you have to fill in the blanks here. You have to fill in all the structural words like in a basket to bruise leaf. Okay, so you have to supply those things there. So oolong tea is shaken or rolled in a basket to bruise with an R the leaf edges. Black tea is rolled into strips for gung fu black or cut for broken black. Furthermore, green tea reaches its final preparation step by either rolling, not rolling actually, but by being rolled or shaped, no, rolled and shaped or dried with an addition of jasmine. Oolong tea has to be shortly fermented, while black tea needs to have a full fermentation cycle. After that, oolong is pan-fried, where black tea only needs to be dried. Okay. In comparison, one S only please. In comparison to the other tea types, white tea leaves do not require withering, pan frying, rolling, or cutting. Instead, they only need to be steamed and dried afterwards. Okay. Scented tea is produced from green, black, or oolong teas. It needs to be dried, then scented with flowers or fruits, and then finally cooled down. Okay, now here's the good thing. The good thing is that you've included everything. The good thing is that most of the grammar is accurate. Most of the vocabulary is fine. I think that if I had any concern, it's with the organization of your answers. In other words, when you were describing this whole thing the whole thing about green, oolong, and black, I found the whole description of it really rather confusing. There is a much easier way to do this. I absolutely agree with you that you start with the common step to all of them, that they need to be sorted and cleaned. Then I find that the easiest thing is just to describe the 2 steps involved in white tea and then just get out of there. You're done with white tea, forget about it, and move on. So then what happens is the other 3 teas all have this withering stage in common. Okay, of course, green tea is often withered, not always, but if you really wanted, you could talk about that, but you don't really have to. So first start with this, sorting and cleaning, and then talk about steaming and drying in white tea. Easy, then you're done. Then you talk about the other 3 teas, that they all have this common step, but then after this step, there is differentiation. So, green tea then has an additional 2 steps: pan frying, steaming, or frying, and then rolling and shaping or drying. Okay, and then you're done with it. Let's see. Whereas oolong tea doesn't have the same next step as green tea. It does have shaking or rolling, okay, but this is done in a basket. And similarly, black tea is rolled, but it is rolled into strips for gong fu black, or cutting for broken, or whatever that says, okay? Then you can talk about these two and say that they both are fermented. Oolong and black are both fermented, but one requires short fermentation, whereas the other requires this, okay? Then you can say that they both have some sort of a heating process done to them, whereas oolong is first pan-fried and then dried, whereas black tea is also dried but by firing. So do you see how this is a really easy way of doing? I don't know, I think it's easy to do it like this. You could try it, okay? And then of course you can get into the description of scented tea, which I think is really, really easy as well. All right, that's how I would have approached this. That's typically how I recommend doing it. I think it's an easy way to explain this flowchart like this. There are other ways you could do it as well. I just think, remember that the goal here is to try to describe it in a way that the reader, or for your purposes, the examiner, can visualize what you're looking at as easily as possible, okay? Let's take a look now at your task 2. Moving from large cities to regional locations, benefits and drawbacks. Let's see what you said. Recently, there has been a trend initiated by governments to proactively encourage large organizations to consider expanding or even moving their businesses from the cities to regional areas. In this essay, I would like to discuss both advantages and disadvantages of such an initiative. You do need an article here. That's absolutely appropriate. They never asked you to say which you think are more or what you're in favor of, so that's absolutely fine. Okay, moving on. When companies move their operations to smaller cities, they relocate their current staff, but in addition, they start looking for local talent. For instance, hiring specialists who are familiar with local traditions and the political situation, get rid of the comma, can help companies to establish a better relationship with residents and city officials, and at the same time decrease the unemployment rate. Moreover, comma, having more businesses in regional areas can initiate the flow of investment into infrastructure improvement. For example, a business can purchase the communication equipment for the new offices and at the same time help a regional school to upgrade their equipment. How? Can you explain to me how that happens? So I don't understand the connection, so try to explain it to me, because it's not really clear. On the other hand, moving from the large city into the regional location is quite expensive. For example, the company will need to spend funds on relocating their staff and building new offices, which can ultimately stop the company operations for the period of move. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Which can ultimately stop the company operations for the duration of the move, I think is what you're trying to say. Furthermore, there is a possible negative impact on the local wildlife. For example, while a newly relocated company will be developing a new property, animals which, not who, animals, we don't use who because it's only for people. So animals which used to inhabit the area will need to find another home. In conclusion, it can be said that the governmental initiative in question certainly has its positive impact, but at the same time some disadvantages can be seen, not overseen, as well. Perhaps in the future there will be more companies which, again, companies are not people, which will move their business to undeveloped regional areas. Okay, it's fine. I mean, it's not like super developed, but it certainly gets the job done. It's clear you expanded. Let's see. Benefits and drawbacks. So the benefit is they look for local talent. They can do this. They initiate the flow of investment. Okay, fine. You didn't really develop that in a great way, but you did give me more than one benefit. Let's see about it's expensive. That's the drawback. And the wildlife. Okay, so it's fine. Yes, you developed it appropriately. Could you have said more? Yeah, maybe you could have, but what you said on the whole was fine. It was good, so I'm pretty happy with it. Go ahead and correct these essays, return them to me corrected, add to your error correction list, and let's meet back here with your next set of essays, okay? Good luck.